Afternoon, folks, and thanks for joining us. My name is Hurst Renner, and I'm a Senior Director here at Rubicon. And I'm delighted to welcome you to the first in our next Summit Digital Series, where we are going to speak with experts in the technology and heavy-duty fleet management space to better understand what the challenges they're facing on a daily basis and how they're solving them. I am delighted to be joined today by two experts from the heavy-duty fleet space. First, we have Shaaron Grayson, who is the Assistant Public Works Director for Solid Waste in the city of Coral Gables, Florida. And also we have JJ Tips, who is the Operations Manager for the Solid Waste and Recycling Department in the city of Denton, Texas. Thank you both for joining me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. But before we start, I want to just give folks that may not be familiar with Rubicon, who we are, and some of our software products, a quick overview, just to frame the conversation. So for those unfamiliar, Rubicon was founded in 2008 with a mission to end waste. We're now a publicly listed company on the New York Stock Exchange, and we provide innovative software solutions for businesses and governments around the world. Our software products are helping companies and municipalities run their heavy-duty fleet vehicles and their operations more effectively, efficiently, and equitably. Both the city of Coral Gables and the city of Denton have deployed our heavy-duty fleet SaaS technology within their fleet, and it's mainly comprised of two software components, two of which you're looking at on the screen and we'll talk about today. The first, in the foreground of your screen, is what we call a driver application. This software runs on any phone or any tablet, and it accompanies drivers in and out of the vehicle on a daily basis. Using this software, we have digitized their daily operations, from a digital pre-trip to a digital route sheet, the ability for operators to log any issues they see while they're actually en route in real time, all the way down to digital weight tickets at a MRF or a transfer station or potentially a landfill. This device accompanies drivers in and out of the vehicle on a daily basis, requires little to no hard wiring, and enables those both in the public and private sector who are running these heavy-duty fleet vehicles to have a whole lot of flexibility with their resources. The second piece of software, which you see in the back of your screen, is what we call the Rubicon Manager Portal. The portal is really the brains of this operation. As your vehicles are traveling nearly every city street on a weekly basis, there's a lot more that they can pick up, and that information is going to live in the Manager Portal. It's purpose-built for supervisors, for customer service folks, as well as management to better understand what's going on in the field from anywhere, from an office, from home. And the portal gives you tools such as route optimization technology, billing technology. You can confront and handle, hopefully solve, customer service issues that drivers have reported out in the field using the portal as well. It's a dynamic routing and reporting tool as well. So with that, it's a very high-level overview of the heavy-duty fleet software that Rubicon is purpose-built both for the private sector and the municipal government space. And today, I'm really excited again to speak with Shaaron and JJ about their deployments in both of their cities. So Shaaron, if you don't mind starting us off, would you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about the city of Coral Gables, the operation you're running?
Oh, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Here in the city beautiful, as we're calling Coral Gables, we service about 11,000 residents, and it's mainly majority residential backdoor service. So the residents do not have to bring their carts to the curb. We take care of everything backdoor service. And we also run trash, garbage, and recycling. It's a little different because our trash, we have trash pits, which a lot of people are not accustomed to having a trash pit either on the side of their house or on the front of their house. So it's easier for us to service the residents.
Okay, we'll have to unpack some of that, Shaaron. That's the trash pits and the backdoor service. That's great. Thank you. And yeah. JJ, would you mind doing the same?
Sure. Thank you for having me. The city of Denton is a full-service solid waste program. We have our own landfill. We run residential, commercial collections, including open tops. And then we also have a home chemical collection that we run routes and do curbside for that mirrors those trash routes. And then we also have a small valet program in our downtown square where it's hard to get the big trucks in. So we run a mini rear load or pup truck. We actually circulate those businesses and apartments multiple times a day. I think it's 6 times a day. We run routes through there starting at 7 a.m. and wrapping up about 2:30 a.m.
Wow. No rest for the weary.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. We want to focus today on a couple of different themes, but the main theme of the conversation is around this transition from running what I'll call analog service or services mainly run on pen and paper or with little or no technology to the deployment of technology to help run these heavy duty fleet operations more efficiently. So I guess, JJ, I'll turn it over to you first with the first question, but I'm just curious, what drove the city towards deploying a software solution? Was there a single event or many that got you there?
There was many. We did have an audit 5 or 6 years ago and found our then software lacking. Plus it was paper based. We could rearrange everything in the system, but then we had to print out route sheets for everybody or what routes, work orders for those ticket based routes. So switching over, we saved a ton of paper and kind of streamlined. Now there is no, it's not Bob's route. It's whoever we need to go on the route. It used to take us months to get a driver trained up and, ready to roll on his own. Now, within a matter of a couple of weeks, they just really have to be certified on the vehicles, and then we can cut them loose with Rubicon, guiding them turn by turn, basically, and showing them everywhere they need to be.
That's great. That's, that's music to my ears, but that is a key component of the software is that we want to give, whether you're in the public sector or the private sector, the ability to, so long as somebody has a CDL and you trust them, to hop into a vehicle with some software to help them run a route more efficiently. So Shaaron, I'll turn it over to you. And I know that the decision may not have come directly from sort of you to deploy technology. It may have happened prior, but tell me more about how you've come into the city of Coral Gables and what sort of difference the technology is making and further improvements you'd love to make in the future.
Okay, so for City of Coral Gables, the initiative was to go from paper to using more technology so that we can be more efficient and keep the productivity going on. So Rubicon came in, it did that for us here. And also the routing optimization part of Rubicon is what was desperately needed here because the routes hadn't been balanced or the efficiency, we really didn't know what we had out there. So this is helping us give a clean eye on what's going on out there and how many homes we're actually servicing and how long it actually take us to get the backdoor service done, because backdoor service isn't really done anymore. This is a different kind of beast that we're running where the guys are running 15, 20 miles per day and they're using a cart. So it's completely different than what you will usually see, for backdoor service. The City of Beautiful residents say that we are giving them a concierge service, It's different than anything else out there. So we wanted to use a better technology to take us away from the paper so we can save some money on the paper, everything digitized, and it's easier for us to get to.
That's great. Shaaron, I know, sort of what the groundsmen are doing in the backdoor service, but can you just paint a picture for us what it looks like from a daily, a truck pulls up to an intersection and then what happens in that cul-de-sac when they're servicing folks?
Okay, so I have a driver and usually 3 helpers, and each helper have their streets that they're assigned to service. So what usually happens is they'll get off with their carts and they'll service the residents' backdoor service, and then they'll bring everything to a set location for the driver to pull up so that they can dump, and then they keep going back to servicing the homes. So some homes, if it's a lot, then the helper has to wait for the truck to come. He calls for the truck to come so that he can service and keep working. So it's a little different than what most people are accustomed to, how we run the operation. And they're in complete conversation with the driver, so they'll know when they need to have, their cart unloaded and stuff like that. So it's like little staging areas throughout the neighborhood that they meet up so that they can unload and keep going.
It's just amazing. It's hard work, but fascinating that you're touching that many residents on a weekly basis in that form of service.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine having some software would aid instead of trying to have the helpers run back to the truck, explain that there could be an issue, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. So Rubicon helps us with the exception. So if we can't get inside, because most of our residents have gates with codes, and so it helps to be able to log the exception and say we couldn't get in the gate, or they may have their dog out. A lot of them have dogs, so we may not be able to provide the backdoor service because of that. So it helps us in a lot of ways that we wasn't able to capture. When the resident said we had a missed pickup, there was an issue. That's why we couldn't service. So it really helps us in that manner.
Got it. That's great. Thank you, Shaaron. And speaking of exceptions, JJ, I'm gonna come to you here in a moment, but just to frame for folks that may not be familiar, when I spoke at the beginning of the driver application, the ability for a driver to log an issue that they encounter at the curb, it could be a driver or a helper in the city of Coral Gables. But an exception is what we call that issue that they've encountered. So it could be, like Shaaron just mentioned, a gate code, or there's a dog in the backyard, or a broken container, or it's blocked. But that's how we're empowering operators to collect that data, showcase that they were at the constituent's home. They were trying to provide service, but couldn't for a particular reason. But JJ, in 2021, the drivers in Denton logged over 87,000 exceptions while they were en route on providing daily service. That is a huge number. And I know that you were able to use that data and that information to reduce go-backs a significant amount, but I'd love to hear straight from you how you were able to make that happen, and what the difference would have been had you been using paper versus software in this case.
Sure. The Rubicon, one of the best features from the customer service side is that every exception that those drivers log is virtually real time. Our customer service department, which does our billing for us, has visibility into that system, so they can see those. So when the customer calls in our previous paper world, customer service had no idea why a stop was missed or skipped or whatever. So now, not only is there an exception log, but the drivers have the ability to take pictures as well. So they can clearly take a picture of the front of the house and say that the cart was not out. That picture can easily be downloaded and sent back to the customer if they want to dispute it. So it helps us identify those for sure. And with that data, that's a lot of what was flagged in that 87,000. And I think we were close to, if not over 100,000 exceptions flagged this past year. It's the not outs. And so if we can demonstrate we were by the house at 7:33 a.m. and here's a picture of the front of your house and there's clearly no cart at the curb, then it justifies us to not go back at that point, which saves us a ton of time and a ton of money.
There's no doubt. And we often speak with partners that we understand that you may not be able to flip a switch and stop doing go backs overnight. Were you able to, did you have to have legislation change to push back some on your constituents to reduce the number of go backs, or was really just having a photo and the data enough?
Yeah, it's always been in our ordinance, but we had no way to prove it before. So it hasn't eliminated go backs entirely. Sometimes some people are honest with you and just, I forgot, or, used to my driver coming by after lunch and not in the morning. But now, there is no set way to run it. We know the houses we need to collect, and, it may be a different driver, or, I'm sure a lot of people are facing it too. There's a shortage of trucks going down. So, we've got to split up those routes, and so they get run differently. But yeah, it was something that we just weren't able to enforce in our ordinance previously, and now it's there.
Understood. That's great. And we, again, I just want to highlight that we know that you cannot necessarily make that change. I mean, it sounds like in the city of Denton, JJ, that it at least was in your ordinance. I would say, it's nice to have the ability sort of from a legislative standpoint to be able to push back a little bit. But we do hope in areas where that isn't the case, that the documentation of true data will then enable a data-driven decision instead of one that is really just focused on trying to provide service for constituents, whether or not they may or may not have actually followed up with their end of the bargain.
Right.
So, Shaaron, sorry, JJ, did you have something?
No, it's really helped on our commercial end as well. We, with vehicles parked in front of the dumpster, our commercial routes start at 4 a.m. So a lot of those, businesses and multifamily that we collect from, it's hard to control who's parked where in the middle of the night. But at least, by the time the management crew gets there at, 8 or 9, that vehicle is no longer blocking, so they're upset. So, having that photo and, before we just tell them, oh, it's a blue Ford, and maybe they believe us, maybe they don't. Now with a photo, it's a lot easier to send that back and say, here, and if you can figure out who this resident is and keep them from parking there in the future, it'll be great. That's
right. And are you sometimes using the system to then push additional stops back out to drivers while they're en route? So for example, they're blocked in the morning, but then in the afternoon, maybe you send them back.
Yeah. And the other thing we do with that, we take same day requests from our customers. And previously in the paper-based world, the drivers, when they'd come to empty at the landfill, they'd stop by the office here and have to pick up the papers and say, okay, we added these 3 stops. Now we can push them out in real time. So, they don't necessarily have to drive here, then drive back across town. They can still get those stops when they're in the area.
Got it. So Shaaron, when we worked together on a pilot in the city of Coral Gables, and one thing that we focused a lot on in partnership with you was driver adoption. And it's something we stress in all of our partners, but in particular, Coral Gables averaged over 97% of drivers and helpers logging into the software on a daily basis, which is extraordinarily high and really a strong indication that there is strong leadership that is saying, this is a program that we want to implement, but also from the operation side, the operator and the helper, recognizing that this isn't a tool that is supposed to add time or any time or effort, but really something that proves that they're doing their job. Talk to me a little bit about, how that implementation rolled out, and sort of ongoing training and that communication with the drivers around logging into the device and using it on a daily basis.
So I think initially the training up front, which helped our guys, because I have a mix. My staff is mixed, but I have a lot of younger employees that's using a smartphone. So they adapted really quick to Rubicon, and by Rubicon being so user friendly, they was able to maneuver around. And then what happens? Those who got it really fast, they helped the other ones who were struggling in some areas on, making sure they logged into the correct route, that they didn't log into the trash route because it said R3, but they logged into T3 for trash. So just those little things, just them getting acclimated with the process of it and all the training that we gave them helps along the way. And they were able to tell us when they saw something, hey, this popped up. What do I do when I get this? They stayed in constant communication if they saw something that we didn't train them on. So I think it was great buy-in from the initial start that this was going to help their job to be better, and that they saw that it was better. And that's where we are. And, I can show them the breadcrumbs of how they're running a route and how efficiently, if they ran it a different way so they can see it themselves. I think that helped a lot.
It's such a great point, Shaaron, especially with your unique operation. If you're on foot, obviously you want to minimize it as that. You said it, 15 or 20 miles. It levels up the whole idea of course, we want our vehicles to be more efficient. We want to reduce the miles they're driving. It's more sustainable. It's going to be more cost effective. But when you're talking about people actually providing this service on foot, it is truly a whole nother level. So right. speak to me more about, I'm just curious about, if you've had any citizen feedback or sort of, I would call it management or office staff feedback about using the software, the transition from no software to working on paper to now something, a fully implemented solution.
So the first thing I'm going to go back is that we had to find the proper case to carry the phone so they can capture what the driver, what the helper was doing out there, so they won't have to run back and forth to the truck. So once we found the right pouch to continue to run when they're running and capture the data, that was key, because if not, we'll lose everything that they're doing. But for the office staff, they gravitated really, really well to it, because now when the customers call in and say that we didn't provide a service, we can actually show and email the picture, because majority of the Coral Gables residents, they're technological savvy. So they have computers. We have a software where they can actually send their own emails to us for a complaint or a missed pickup. So we just use that vice versa, taking a picture from Rubicon, real time clearing up the complaints or any, confusion that they may have about service days. We're right real time with it. So it helps us a lot. The paper issue, because you can lose paper, us capturing the dump tickets, that really helps with billing, because now our billing is 100% clean. If there's a discrepancy with the tonnage, we can adapt to it and make the correction really quick. So it helps us on all facets of our business, inside and out. And I think Yanni, if you ever meet her, she's going to tell you that she loves Rubicon because it makes her life easier as a customer service rep.
Well, that's great. I love to hear that. And I guess you are receiving, where Yanni is, calls directly into the department instead of maybe a citywide 311, or is it both?
It's both. They can either come through GovQA or they can call inside. But the picture really helps for us to narrow down things that's happened, and the breadcrumbs, because we can tell them, hey, their truck was in your area at this time and he serviced at this time. So it gives us real-time data that we can give to the residents that are not used to. So, you have the people who habitually will say we missed them because they put more stuff out after we've come through. So now it's like, okay, I need a special pickup. So now we know, okay, here is, the cause of that. Now I need a special. So now we have some specials that we have to pick up, which lets us know that they're actually putting out a little bit more tonnage than what we expected.
Got it. Interesting. No, that's great. I love to hear it. Hopefully you can claw back some of the cost for the special pickups using that software. So JJ,
to add to that, with the paper tickets, not only did they get lost, but then you had to make out the chicken scratch from whatever driver wrote their notes on there. So yeah, Rubicon, they're typing it in. So as long as they can work a keyboard, and even we realized that we could use a barcode scanner. Our cart delivery guy specifically, our carts have a barcode that has that container number on it. So that was what we caught us, instead of not being able to make out his handwriting, he'd, type in the numbers incorrectly. So we rigged up a Bluetooth scanner that connected to our tablets. He scans that barcode, and we actually printed out barcodes and put it on the back of his tablet so he can scan, picked up, scan the cart, remove.
Wow, that's great. Love that.
So cool. It makes it awesome.
That's great. Wow. I'd never heard that, JJ. That's awesome. And that's specifically within cart delivery, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
we haven't figured out a way to use the scanner for others, but for cart delivery, it works gangbusters.
And is that a daily route that you're running, or is it once a week?
We run that, 4 days a week. We mirror the trash routes. So
wow.
If there's a damaged container or new builds.
Got it. Okay. So Shaaron, just quickly, how are you handling that in Coral Gables with the specific nature of your service? Are you doing cart delivery? How does that work?
We haven't started the cart delivery at Rubicon yet. That's my next phase. And now I know that I have some experience that can help me out in the city of Denton. I'm gonna have to take some notes from that, because we just delivered the recycling carts. The residents here have to provide their own garbage, but that system sounds like it's really efficient, and you could get a lot of productivity done and managing how you deliver in the carts. I like that.
Yeah, and it's surprising. We talked about adoption. The guy who runs our carts has been with the city of Denton for 30 plus years. We thought there's no way he was going to embrace new technology, and he was one of the people out there just yelling how great it was. So getting that adoption from those employees is great.
That's I love to hear that. That's great. So JJ, talk to me. I mean, the city of Denton has done such a good job of utilizing some of what I would call the more advanced features of the software. You know, we have the 101 version, which really is, you know, providing efficiency and logging exceptions, and then you start to level up and you get into things like route assist. So will you talk to us about how your operators are utilizing route assist and what that's meant for the daily operations?
Sure. Yeah, there's a few ways you can do route assist. Rubicon's pretty flexible with it. So obviously, if you're down a route at the beginning of the day, you wouldn't necessarily route assist. You just divide that a route, and you can put it on whichever other routes want to do. But, you know, we get to the end of the day, and one route finishes early, and instead of coming back to the yard and waiting to be reassigned, they can literally proactively look on their tablet, see who else is still out there, how many stops they have left to go, and jump on and say, okay, I'm going to help Route 6. You can have multiple people assist that. So if you've got 4 or 5 trucks that get done early, they can go blast and help out. You know, maybe the truck went down or had some technical issues. It's been great. It started off slowly, but I think almost 10% of our routes in 21 were assisted. So, and it's only done anything but grow since then. It's a great feature. And you can also track that. So that the other part is, you know, you can see who's responsible, who went down this street, and, you know, tag it on that person if there was stuff missed, or they only picked up one half of the street, not the other half of the street. Or
got it. No, that's cool. It's good to know. We design, as JJ and Shaaron, you know, but for the audience, you know, we design most of our features with direct feedback from customers, whether they be municipal or in the private sector as well. And that was something that came from a partner of ours many years ago. And I have to say, it's got to be our most popular feature because of JJ, exactly what you said. It may not even just be that you're down drivers on a day or down a truck. It's the end of the day. You know, it's keeping folks and resources out in the field instead of coming back waiting to be reassigned. At least that's where we've seen the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. So I want to come to a close in a moment. We'll open up some Q&A, but Shaaron, I have one final question for both of you. But before we do, Shaaron, you've got to tell us more about these trash pits and what they are. You know, just describe it for the audience, because I love it, but, you know, unlike everybody else.
So for our trash service, we service once a week trash pickup. This will be a bulk pickup, all your greenery. Most people have trash pits in the front or on the side of their homes where it's just not their pit. The neighbors share the pit and they put their stuff in there as well. And then we come down and we service it. So it's a little different than just plopping all of it in front of your house. There's designated areas inside of Coral Gables where you're able to put your pit. And if for some reason you decide, you know what, you know, my house is smaller, I don't need a trash pit anymore, I don't have that much, you can decommission your trash pit, we'll sod it, put it back like it never existed. So it's different. It's really different, but it works for us, you know.
No, it's great. I love it because, you know, JJ, you face it, and Shaaron, I'm sure that you face similar issues, right? And on a day-to-day basis from an operational perspective. But JJ, you know, you're running pup trucks, which is interesting. You're running it from, you know, first thing in the morning all the way through to the first thing in the morning again. It's not 24 hours, but it might as well be. And that provides its own challenges. And then Shaaron, you have this interesting, unique, but very high touch service. And it just shows that I think with some software, it can solve for both instead of trying to run things on paper. So before we open it up to some Q&A, JJ, I'll start with you, but I'm just curious, and it can be wide ranging, but you know, you obviously in Denton, you've deployed this software, but I'm curious where you see technology going specifically in, you know, the heavy fleet space in the next handful of years. What would you like to see? Where do you think it's going? You know, talk to me a little bit more about that.
We would like to see some integration with cameras. The flagging exceptions by the drivers is great. but being able to incorporate that software with cameras that already exist on our fleet as is, just enhance that. You know, you get the picture is only as good as what the driver takes. But, you know, if you've got cameras that roll the whole time you're going down the street, you can go back and potentially watch video. I know there's some solutions that exist outside of your software, and I believe you guys are working with a company or two to try to develop some of that. But yeah, that and some AI integration, so you know it can automatically flag some things as contaminated or overflowing or stuff like that to help kind of ease the drivers. Our drivers, you know, the trash routes are 1,200 plus stops. The recycle routes are 1,600 stops. So even though reporting exception is really quick in Rubicon, you know, you got a couple seconds here and a couple seconds there, and it extends those routes quite a bit.
And that makes perfect sense. And you're right, JJ. We partner with some other folks, and we have our own camera technology that does a little bit of both. It has the AI component, which to your point is identifying contamination as it comes into the hopper of the vehicle, but other things like overflowing bins and containers, potholes, even illegal dumping. So I think you're right. We recognize that, and we want to keep going in that direction for sure. We want to make the drivers and the operators' lives as easy as possible. At the same time, by giving you and the municipality, but also private companies as well, as much of that data as they can, because these trucks are traveling, you know, most streets on a weekly basis.
Right.
So Shaaron, same question to you, if you don't mind. I'm curious if there are things that are similar to what JJ touched on, or different because your operation runs in a different way.
I think what we're more looking forward to is actually our first official reroute to balance the routes, to give us more optimization and actually know what we're actually picking up for the backdoor service. And so, you know, recycling is a hot topic in any municipality and any government, private, everything that's right now. So we want to really know what we're picking up for recycling, so we can make better decisions for the future of it. So that's where I'm starting. Once we get everything together, you know.
No, it makes perfect sense. I don't think it really matters what type of service you're providing. The optimization of those daily routes or ad hoc routes hopefully is going to fall to your bottom line in your operation. Doesn't matter if that's in the municipality or in the private sector. And to your point, Shaaron, I mean, with National Sword and the recycling industry now, the more data you have to understand what you're actually collecting and your contamination levels is going to help you in the long run as you try and figure out how to handle, you know, the actual processing of those materials.
Yes, and also, Hurst, I'm not sure if you noticed that we have I almost can create a cardboard route by itself. That's how much shopping, Amazon, you know, it's a really booming down here in Coral Gables. I believe our residents order just about most of everything.
Gosh, so talk to us about that, Shaaron, because it's interesting. So are you collecting that right now? Is it in the recycling carts? Is it in the trash pits? Where are people putting that cardboard?
It's with recycling, and okay. Most of my specials are us going back collecting large amounts of cardboard. And what I'm told is during Christmas, I run 2 rear loaders in certain areas because it's nothing but cardboard that we're picking up.
Wow.
So that may be soon. I may have to just have a strict cardboard route separately from the recycling, and using Rubicon is going to help us determine that.
It's so interesting. JJ, I wonder, is that something that you're seeing as well? Have you seen an increase maybe since COVID or not so much?
Yeah, and the other thing that Rubicon's allowed us to do, we hired a full-time auditor for residential and one for commercial, and then we also have some interns that come in. But we can create tandem routes of those recycling routes and hit our high contamination routes. So those auditors go out at the same time as the route drivers. They'll start on the back end, and they can get, depending on the day and the weather, 100, 200 houses. And they will literally go cart to cart, inspect the cart, and they can flag it. If it's too contaminated, they can flag it in Rubicon for the driver. So when he gets to that area, he knows not to pick it up. We can leave information for the customer to educate them. Hey, you know, we appreciate you participating, but these items aren't in our program. you need to remove them so we can collect your cart next week. So
and do you eventually pull carts, or is it more of a sort of, you continue to tag, or you try and target the education?
Right now, we're not pulling carts. It's been somewhat successful. Probably 50 to 60% of the people remove the contaminant the next week. We try to hit those same carts the following week. So it's been pretty good. We've decreased our contamination overall by about 10% this year. So it's been a good movement. So
that's great. That's great. And Shaaron, are you pulling carts in Coral Gables?
No.
That makes sense. High touch.
Oh man.
Okay, so I have a couple questions here, and I'll just throw them out, both Shaaron, to you and to JJ, sort of in an open forum. But first off, so walk us through, what is the process for taking a photo of an exception itself from the driver's perspective? And I'll toss it out to both of you. If you'd rather me take it, I can, but I'll throw it to you first.
Shaaron, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so usually what happens if the helper gets to a home and the gate is locked, then he's going to try the buzzer. The buzzer doesn't work, nobody responds, then he's going to go log the exception under the tab. I would say the gate locked, and then I have them take a picture so to show that the gate is locked, that we can't service. And so when the resident calls in to customer service, she will be able to go to the exceptions and log and see that we were there at X amount of time, and the picture showing that the gate was locked. So those are the steps that the helper usually does.
Yeah. So yeah, our drivers, obviously you hit the button to initiate the exception. You choose which exception you want to cite, and then depending on the exception, it'll give you the option for the photo. A lot of our routes, we have tablet mounts on the dash. So the drivers have them positioned where they can not only see them, but they don't have to lift it out of the cradle to take that picture. They can just, hit the 2 buttons or so that they do, hit another button, it takes a picture, and they're on the way. Or they have the option, obviously, to remove it and get a better photo of what they're claiming is the issue. But it's all in all, it's a very quick process.
Got it. Thank you. Let's see. Let me read off the second one. So here we go. Back to route assist. So JJ, this may be directed more towards you, but Shaaron, please weigh in. How do you handle drivers that don't want to assist?
They don't really have the option. But if you have some that are hesitant, or they're always, picking their buddy to help or whatever, and that doesn't make sense, that's part of the weekly or bi-weekly sit down with them. Our collections supervisors will review their routes, like Shaaron talked earlier, look for those efficiencies. Hey, you went over here when you could have kept going this way. The breadcrumbs kind of let us see that, but that can also be that discussion in there too. You aren't helping as much as you need to be, but with the visibility on the tablet, they can see where those trucks are pretty much all the time. So if they're headed back into the yard when they need to be out helping, it's easy to call them out and say, hey, where are you going? Turn around and go help this route.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. The last question that is hot off the press is just coming in. Let me read it first. So are you able to see the service history of a single address easily? For example, if I was to use Rubicon software, would I enter the address into an address search field, and would it list all the truck numbers and service days the address was last serviced? And how far back does that data go? So I will turn probably the first to you, but I can cover the second end, and Shaaron or JJ, if you're willing. If not, again, I'm happy to answer it.
Yes, for the service history, I'm able to put the address in, and it'll tell me when we was there. I can see the breadcrumbs if I wanted to go back and see the history of it. If I wanted to run a report of the address, I also can run a report for the address for garbage, trash, and recycling to see when we service. Yes, the service history is there. since it's cloud-based, Hurst, I think you have to help me. It's there for what? As long as we need it there?
So, I mean, you had it nailed. I thought you were going to reel it off. I was going to be super impressed. So Shaaron's exactly right. So the whole system is cloud-based. In the portal itself, you'll have 6 months of historical data right at your fingertips. Everything else is going to be stored in perpetuity. We work with AWS, but yeah, 6 months sort of right in the portal itself.
Yeah, and exception shows up really. It's in red where everything else is in blue or black, so it stands out as you go through. And it lists, if you went into a residence house, we do trash, recycling, yard waste, and potentially ad hoc route for carts or bulk or whatever. So each of those, if there's something assigned that day, it lists each of those services that are assigned that day. So if there was an issue, it stands out fairly quickly.
Great, thanks. And that those are all the questions we received. But I would just turn it over, both JJ, to you and to Shaaron, for any final thoughts. It could be about the transition from analog service, paper-based, to technology. Could be about what you see in the future. The floor is yours. If Shaaron, if you want to jump into it, and then JJ.
I'm sorry, repeat it. I didn't hear you.
I just wanted to give you a chance for some final thoughts, Shaaron. If you could be about anything, but we've gotten through our questions, so it could be more about how the implementation and the transition from a paper-based service to software. It could be about the future, but just wanted to make sure you had the chance to say anything else you'd like to.
So I'm going to say that when I was looking for a routing software, I went through a whole bunch of companies. And I initially started this out at the city of Miami, and we were in the same thing. Everything was paper, no technology to help us maximize our routes, to even route to get balance or anything. And I fell in love with Rubicon because it was so user-friendly, and the staff, which helped guided us, because we didn't know what we was really getting into. The staff with Hurst and Josh and Magnus, it was really helpful to guide us in what we really needed and what we were really looking for the long haul of how we was going to run our businesses. And I'm in love with Rubicon. And I send a message to my guys in the morning, hey, the weather is going to be like this. Please make sure you're safe. I send safety messages to them just for them to get their day started, and just for them using it in the manner that we needed them using, so that we can get the data in the back end and to really be efficient for our customers and provide that excellent service that we want. We can get that from using Rubicon. And I from day one, I've always loved this system because it helps us get where we need to. And it's also good for budgeting, because now you can say if you need trucks, if you need manpower, you can have this data real time to show your commission or your board, whoever it is that needs to give you those dollars so that you can run your your business efficiently. This helps in that, especially with the reports you can run. So I'm looking forward to the future with using Rubicon and the route assist. Maybe one day I'll get to route assist, but and the cart delivery, because those are my next two things. And I'm listening to James do it, and it sounds like he has the platform for any question that you could possibly have. He can help us out, especially the newbies just starting. So I thank you, Hurst, for inviting me to do this. This was very informative. I've learned some different things on other things and platforms that I could probably use here at the City Beautiful Coral Gables.
Well, thank you, Shaaron. We love working with you and the team, and it was good fun to have you join today. So thanks for being a part of it.
You're welcome.
JJ, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we've been very pleased with Rubicon. Rubicon had a lot to try to fill in for us. Our old software was kind of all encompassing. It did our scale house, our work orders, our routing, if you want to call it that. It is a lot of work up front, getting your data ready. The more ready you can make it, obviously, the easier it is. But it's been great. The other part of Rubicon, that it's SAS. That's what we ran into with some of our older softwares. You get behind versions, and then it's exceedingly expensive to get caught up. And whatever, I can't even count the number of updates in the 2+ years we've been using Rubicon that features have been added that we're like, great, that fantastic that's here. I didn't have to pay a dime for it. It's, y'all developed it for whatever customer asked or just to enhance the program in general. And the fact that we're always on the latest and greatest version of the software is amazing. The flexibility that we're given, if we wanted to create a little temporary route, it meant printing out Google Maps and, highlighting and drawing and counting houses. With Rubicon, we had like the schools in the district were having a contamination problem. So we were able to kick them off routes and just put them on their own. And that literally took 5 minutes to get that route assembled. Whereas that would have taken us hours and hours previously to do that, and also remove them from the other routes. So overall, yeah, we're looking forward to continuing to grow with Rubicon. And, Shaaron, if you have any questions about that cart stuff with the barcode scanners, hit me up. I'll be happy to share with you. It's really easy.
Don't don't worry. I'm going to hit you up about that. I like that. That's a great idea.
It is. It's great. Well, JJ, thank you. It's a good reminder. These enhancements are rolled out because it is a SaaS offering at no additional fee to our customers, and that's our model. And I will take the message back to our product team, and I'm sure some are on, but they work diligently to take the enhancements from public sector, private sector, and get them into the system as fast as we can. And really happy to hear you mention that's a benefit, because I know they work extremely hard to make sure that those enhancements are in the system. I want to say thank you, Shaaron and JJ. This was a blast. I know that we had a couple prep calls and we're joking around, and this was it was a lot of fun, and I thank you for your time sincerely. For folks on the call, you see my email address on the screen. Please reach out to me if you have any additional questions. I would be happy to get in touch. And I think just in closing, again, want to thank everybody for joining. Thank you, Shaaron and JJ, but also want to call your attention to our next session in the Next Summit Digital Series, which is actually going to focus on how to make money in solid waste. More details to come, but it will be in October, and we look forward to reconvening then. But thank you, everyone, and appreciate your attention and joining today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.